Hi everyone, welcome to the city of Joondalup. Read, learn, grow. Now today I'm doing an imaginative story. Do you know what imagination is? Well, I'm going to tell a story today that doesn't have a book, doesn't have any pictures and doesn't have any pages. So you have to almost close your eyes and see the pictures in your own head, and that's your imagination. Now today's story was written nearly 200 years ago by some brothers, Willem and Jacob. You might know them more as the Brothers Grimm. And they wrote a story called the Magic Porridge Pot. Do you know what porridge is? I'm going to show you what porridge is. Here's some porridge here. It's made of oats, and you put oats into a saucepan with some water or some milk, and you stir it around while it gets warm and gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And then you have it in a bowl with some sugar and some more milk. And that's porridge. In fact, porridge is eaten around the world everywhere. It's such a popular breakfast that there's actually a National Porridge Day. Can you imagine it? Well, let's start our story. So our story begins. Now sometimes, a lot of stories start with once upon a time. So let's start our story like that too. Once upon a time, in a little village, lived a mum and her little girl. And one morning, the little girl came down to have breakfast, and her mum said, "We don't have any food today. We're so poor we couldn't afford any food." The little girl said, "That's okay." She decided to go for a walk instead, and they lived right in front of a beautiful forest, so she went for a walk in the forest. Now, while she was in the forest, she got really hungry. So she sat down under a tree on some green grass, and she had a bit of a cry. While she was there crying, a little old lady came up to her and asked her why she was crying. She explained to her why she was feeling so sad and why she was so hungry. The old lady gave her a very special gift. She said, "This is a magic porridge pot. Whenever you feel hungry, you just have to say to the magic porridge pot, 'Cook, little pot, cook,' and the pot will cook the perfect amount of porridge that you need right now. And when you've had enough porridge, you just have to say to the pot, 'Stop, little pot, stop,' and the pot will stop cooking porridge." The little girl took the porridge pot home and told her mum about it straight away. In fact, they sat down at the kitchen table straight away with their bowls and their spoons, and can you remember what they had to say? They said, "Cook, little pot, cook," and the pot began to cook the most delicious, ooey gooey, sticky, yummy porridge. They sat down and they ate it all up, and they looked at the pot and they said, "Stop, little pot, stop," and the pot stopped cooking porridge. Now this went on for quite a while, and then one day the little girl said, "I need to go for a walk in the forest again." So she went for a walk out into the forest. Now while she was gone, her mum got really hungry. So she sat down at the kitchen table with her bowl and her spoon, and she looked at the pot and she said, can you remember? "Cook, little pot, cook." And the pot began to make the most delicious, yummy, ooey gooey, sticky porridge. The mum got her bowl and she filled it up and she started eating the porridge straight away. She felt so good. She looked over at the pot, and the pot was still cooking porridge. In fact, it was bubbling out over the porridge lip onto the table and nearly dripping down. "My goodness," the mum said, "quit cooking porridge, pot." But the pot wouldn't stop cooking the porridge. By this stage, the porridge had started to rise up to her knees inside the kitchen and started to ooze out the front door. Can you see the porridge oozing out of the front door? The mum started to get very worried, and she kept trying to get the pot to stop cooking porridge. "Quit cooking, little porridge pot. I've had enough. I'm full." But the porridge pot kept cooking more and more and more and more and more porridge. In fact, she ran out into the street to get her friends to see if they could help the pot stop cooking porridge. They all yelled at the pot, "Stop, you little pot! You're silly! You shouldn't cook so much porridge. Please, we're very full. Please stop." But the porridge pot didn't stop cooking porridge. The porridge began pouring down the whole street, right up to the very edges of the town. All over the grass it kept cooking porridge and more porridge and more porridge and more porridge. Oh my goodness. It was around about this time the little girl came back from her walk in the park. Well, actually in the forest. Out she comes. And she gets to the end of the grass, right near the end of the village, and she could smell something ooey, gooey, sticky and yummy. She looked down and sure enough, it was porridge. Then her mum came running up to her with the porridge pot in her hand and said, "I don't know how to make the pot quit cooking porridge." The little girl looked at her mum and she took the pot. Can you remember what she has to say? "Stop, little pot, stop." And the pot stopped cooking porridge. Now, isn't that a funny story? Do you know, to this very day, if you want to go and visit this village, you have to take a spoon and you have to eat your way in if you want to visit anybody. Did you like that story? It's a pretty silly story, but can you imagine your whole street full of porridge and having to eat your way home? Well, I hope you've really enjoyed our Imagine It story today. I love this story. It's one of my favourites. But, you know, I'm feeling really hungry right now. In fact, my friend Ted Bear is here, and we're both very, very hungry, aren't we, Ted Bear? Yes, we are. So I think what we might need to do, Ted Bear, is I have got this beautiful bowl here of ooey, gooey, sticky, yummy, warm porridge that we need to go off and share. And I need to let you know, Ted Bear, it's not too hot and it's not too cold. It's just right. I'll see you next time at Imagine It. Bye, everybody. See you later.